Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to IREX Residency and Citizenship Conclave Virtual Edition. It's great to have you all joining us from different countries, along with our esteemed speaker on this platform. Looking at these challenging times, we at GMN Media have put together this platform as an opportunity to educate all our esteemed investors, investment bankers, lawyers, immigration consultants about attractive citizenship and residency programs on offer. This presentation will be for 15 minutes, followed by 10 minutes of Q&As. I would request all our attendees to be on active speaker mode. During time of Q&A, all attendees are requested to click the raise your hand button on your screen, and you will be allowed to ask your question. We will unmute you so that you can ask your question. Since we only have 10 minutes for Q&As, in case you don't get a chance to ask your question or your questions remain unanswered, the presenter will be available to speak to you in their virtual booth at the IREX Residency and Citizenship Virtual Exhibition. We will post the link on the chat for your reference. Without further delay, I would like to introduce our presenter, Mr. Raj Chinai, Managing Director of LCR Capital Partners. He is going to present on global mobility and investor visa programs. Over to you, Raj.
Rohan, thanks so much. Welcome everyone. Good afternoon. I'm assuming most of you, if not all of you, are in India. I am in Dubai at the moment. Just to give you a quick introduction, I've been with the firm with LCR since 2018. I spend a lot of my time working with the India market, GCC region, Southeast Asia, and increasingly the Africa market. Pre-COVID, I would be in India once a month, and I hope to resume travel back to India very soon. I am originally from Mumbai. I was born there. I'm a bit of a case study myself of having pursued the American dream. I ended up getting a green card many years ago and eventually US citizenship, completed my education in the US, and have now kind of exercised the optionality of working in various parts of the world. And now I've been in Dubai for 7 years, and excited to be here. So we'll move forward. Let's see here. This is just a quick snapshot of perspective from my partner and the founder and executive chairman of LCR, Suresh Rajan. Suresh, much like myself, also comes from India. He's from the Kerala region and has built his life in the US, having studied and pursued his entrepreneurial dreams in the United States. And this is just an interesting, I don't want to read the entire quote, but this is something that certainly is very much at the heart of who we are as a firm. You can read it at your leisure, but really for us as a firm, we are very much about transparency, working with families in over 30 different countries. India is our largest market, and certainly the highest concentration of our investors do come from India. We believe that the value that we provide is very much of transparency, providing families with all the details possible around Eb5 and other programs that we bring to them if the US is not their ideal choice. And we'll talk more about those other programs shortly. This is a little bit of our company. We are headquartered in Westport, Connecticut, on the east coast of the United States, not far from New York. We have a global presence. Like I said, I'm based in Dubai, and I cover the India market very closely along with my team on the ground. Riddhi, who is manning, she's part of the event and she's part of the booth. So to the extent that you have questions later, myself and Riddhi will be available, and later on as well. We're always happy to speak to you. We have a presence also, apart from Mumbai, where we have a 5-person team. We're also in Singapore, San Francisco, Miami, and Sao Paulo, Brazil. This is a little bit of our background as a firm. We have all been fortunate enough to study at some of the world's top academic institutions. I completed my undergraduate at the University of Pennsylvania, followed by graduate school at Harvard and Kellogg. And much of my, if you see here, several of my colleagues have studied at similar institutions. Our professional backgrounds, which are highlighted at the bottom, are very much that of professional services. We come from management consulting firms, private equity firms, and so forth. And so our approach to the due diligence process on Eb5 projects, our due diligence in terms of making sure these deals are well structured, in the, we effectively work as the fiduciary of the client. We act in that manner. So really, that we leverage a lot of our background from financial services and professional services in making sure that we're representing the investor and no one else. This is just a quick, again, snapshot. We're very much a US based firm, but we really understand in the India market and other markets that we service quite intimately. The philosophy of our firm is really around being a multi-generational firm, where we are looking at identifying investors that want to partner with us on their residency aspirations. But as with many of you, once you settle in the US, there are other layers of your life that become important, and we would like to play an increased involvement in catering to and servicing those requirements, whether it's around wealth management, whether it's around helping your children navigate career opportunities in the US. We do like to leverage, again, it's not part of our core business, but we do look at this as a relationship that is much beyond a transaction, right? We're very much a relationship-driven firm, and we look at ways of adding value to the family's future in more ways than simply the investment. The residency program, like I said, it's about portfolio diversification, ensuring that there are returns attached. There's obviously the settling abroad facet, and then building capital for the next generation. So these are, again, themes that we will talk about as we go on in the presentation. I would say that the India market, the largest concentration of the types of clients that work with us are those that have children that aspire to study in the United States. As I think most of you or all of you will agree, the US has always been and continues to be one of the top destinations, if not the top destination, for a top-notch academic experience. And so we see many of our clients looking at the US for that particular use case. The benefits involve higher acceptance rates into colleges and graduate schools. You simply remove yourself from the quota of being an international student and you place yourself in a different category. Having the EB5 also allows you to succeed in terms of career opportunities. You don't need to worry about sponsorship and other hurdles. And so we'll talk more about this. Again, we have limited time, so I'm going to kind of try to move fairly quickly through some of these slides. And by the way, if you have an interest in engaging in a conversation, we're more than happy to share this deck with you over email. So do reach out to Riddhi or myself, and we'll be happy to share this presentation with you. So what we're going to cover here in the limited time that we have is obviously the EB5 program, which is the United States. We'll talk about the Portugal Golden Visa program, and we'll talk about Granada. Those are the three offerings that we have as part of LCR. Let's start with EB5. That is really the core of our business, and it's what we've been specializing in for the past nearly 7 years. We have built in that short time frame, I think, a fairly considerable presence globally in working with over 850 families on their EB5 plans. The program itself, this is effectively a snapshot or a summary of what EB5 is. There is you're effectively investing into a project in the United States that creates jobs for the US economy. It is a $900,000 investment. We do, I think, a very good job of selecting the projects that we believe will achieve two benefits to the investor. One is ensuring that the green card benefit, the residency benefit, is delivered in a timely manner, as well as ensuring safety of capital, right? So this is a sizable investment. $900,000 plus fees comes to close to $1 million. And we make sure that your capital is safe and that in a time span of 5 years and no longer than 7 years, that $900,000 principal is returned, right? So that's effectively how EB5 works. It covers the individual whose name the investment is going to be in, can be the mother or father, and any children under the age of 21 would be covered under that single investment. There is also the option of a college-bound student who may be 14 years old or over to have the petition be in his or her name if the parents wish not to be part of the application. So that option does exist. And we see in many cases where that makes more sense simply because the mother and father do not have an interest or a aspiration to relocate to the US, but they're doing this for the benefit of the children. So we can talk more about that if there are questions on that. The process and the timeline, it's fairly straightforward. It's well structured. You want to give yourself about a month during the documentation and filing process with us. That includes engaging with us, getting to know our projects, selecting a project, and also engaging with an immigration attorney, which is a very important part of that process. We work with some of the world's top immigration attorneys globally. Several of them are in the US. Some are in India as well, and a couple of them are here in Dubai. So we provide options on which attorney would be the best suited, depending on the family's location and their particular situation. Again, I'm sorry I'm running through this fairly quickly, but I do want to leave enough time for questions. I just want to highlight here, there's two milestones that you want to achieve in this process. One is getting the conditional green card, and the second is getting the permanent green card. Getting the conditional green card will take around 2 years, give or take. And after that, there's a 24-month time frame to achieve the permanent residency, which is the final milestone that you want to get to. Once you have permanent residency, you have that being valid for 10 years. You also have the option, again, it's purely an option, to pursue U.S. citizenship, which is what I opted for many years ago, but that is simply an option. The benefits of having a green card and the benefits of having U.S. citizenship are more or less the same. There are a couple of exceptions, such as you are not, as a green card holder, you would not vote in U.S. elections, nor would you be called for jury duty, which I'm sure most of you would want to avoid anyway. But those are some of the differences. Otherwise, the benefits of working, living in the US are the same. I'm going to move over to Grenadian citizenship by investment and talk a little bit about this. We'll come back to Eb5. I'm sure there'll be questions on that. Grenadian citizenship is an interesting one. Grenada shares a treaty with the United States, and this enables investors to achieve citizenship of Grenada, which is part of the Caribbean. And as you will see here, this is a program that was introduced in 2013. It's been around for almost 8 years. I guess it was in 2019, we saw about 40,000 families pursue what is called the E2 visa. And that number is growing. And what this enables is families who want to have access to the US, working, living, studying in the US, but it's not a permanent residency, right? So one way to do this is to invest through the Granada Program, which we offer. We have tied up with a top-notch developer that is building luxury hospitality projects in the Caribbean, and Granada is the offering that we currently have, which is perhaps the most popular option today. This involves an investment into a project, like I said, a five-star hotel. The family is covered with including kids up to the age of 30. You have no residency requirements. You have visa-free travel to over 140 countries, including the UK, including the Europe's Schengen zone and China. The investment level is a minimum of $220,000 plus fees. This ends up touching close to $400,000 for a family of 4. About Grenada, again, it's been independent since 1974. It's a Commonwealth country, and there are many other benefits, including access to education. There is a medical school there that's quite popular. One of the aspects which I'll touch upon momentarily is around the E2 visa, but within the E2 visa, you can achieve US residency in 6 months. It's the only Caribbean country that has an E2 visa treaty. The minimum investment level of this is around $150,000. It ranges from about $150,000 to $400,000 in a US business. And the investor's spouse can also work in the US, and children under the age of 21 are given residency and can also study in the US. The benefits, again, I've touched on some of these, but there is no foreign income, wealth, inheritance, or capital gains taxes. Dual citizenship is accepted, and there's no travel requirement to Granada as part of this. And as I mentioned earlier, the investment level that we have is approved at a $220,000 level. The E2 visa. Let's cover E2. E2 is a temporary non-immigrant visa that allows a foreign investor and his or her immediate family to live, work, and study in the US. The main applicant must work at the business receiving the investment. The spouse is free to work in any field, and children up to the age of 21 can attend a private or public school in the US. Only citizens of countries that have a commercial treaty with the US can apply for the E2 visa. And I was giving the option or the suggestion of Granada as being a very strong option for getting to the E2. So you would apply for Grenadian citizenship, secure that, and if you wish to have access to the US, you would apply for the E2 visa. This is really well suited for entrepreneurs or those that are interested in buying a franchise. This is the fastest way to gain residency, right? The time frame, as you'll see on this slide, is 2 to 6 months. It does allow you to, again, engage in a new business. Children up to the age of 21 are covered. Residency requirements are flexible. There's unlimited visa extensions as long as the business is active. And the entire process is fairly simple and straightforward. We would handhold you through that journey. The requirements for this citizenship: the applicant must be a citizen or national of a country the U.S. has a treaty with. We already talked about this. This Granada would be an ideal option. The idea here, the intent is for E2 applicants to come to the US to develop and direct the operations of an enterprise. So really kind of building out a business of their own as an entrepreneur is really what this is about. The source of funds used for the investment must obviously come from legal and legitimate sources. The monetary investment, this is, when they say substantial amount of capital, it's not clearly defined, but it must be substantial as it relates to the business venture. This would be, again, as I mentioned earlier, $200,000 to around $400,000 is the range that we typically see. Let's see here. The other kind of key points I just want to mention is I think I've already talked about the investment level, the range. Again, 100 to 500K is a broad range, but what we typically see is around 200 to 400 or 200 to 500. These are some examples on this slide, right? So you'll see that you've got businesses that are from various F&B, property management, health and fitness. These are types of businesses that we see quite frequently that make sense for the E2 visa. And again, those of you that are interested in learning more about this, we do have this offering on our platform, and it's growing in popularity. Part of it is, again, the budget for Eb5. I just want to be clear on that. $900,000 is not going to fit everyone's wallet, and for those families that do not have that budget or do not wish to invest that level, this is a good alternative. At a fraction of the investment level, you get access to the US. The key thing here, though, again, I emphasize, it is not a permanent solution. It's a temporary solution. Eb5, still, make no mistake, it is the easiest option available to ensure permanent residency, right? This does not replace that. This is not permanent. Eb5 is, and Eb5 is, for those of you who are looking at a long-term connection with the US, that is simply the best option available. Portugal Golden Visa Program is something that we launched last year on our platform, and the reason being that many of our families that we were having conversations with that did not want to pursue the US for any one of several reasons. This is obviously, we view Eb5, E2, Portugal, we view all of these decisions as being strategic for the family, right? This is about ensuring a better education for the children, or ensuring a better future for the children, or in some cases having a full family migrate. And we found that some families were simply not well suited for the US or not interested in the US. So we wanted to have an alternative. And we found Portugal being that alternative. It provides a phenomenal access to Europe, both for career opportunities, educational purposes, etc. And it is arguably the most popular alternative option out there when it comes to the Golden Visa. So this is, again, a snapshot here on this slide. It takes 5 to 6 months to establish residency. There are different types of options available, which I'll talk about momentarily. And you have visa-free travel to 26 Schengen countries. The investment level here starts at 280,000. So this is a quick summary slide of the different ways to secure the Portugal Golden Visa program. There's a real estate offering, which is at the 500,000 euro minimum investment level. And we have options there in Lisbon and Porto. We have a real estate hotel investment option, which would range from 280,000 to 350,000 euros. You're investing in a name brand hotel, for example, like the Marriott or Renaissance. You're owning a piece of the unit, and you can, after 5 years, sell that unit to a friend or family member and still maintain the immigration benefit, the Portugal Golden Visa benefit. Returns can be around 3%, and as high as maybe around 5 to 7%, depending on the type of opportunity that you look at. We have a range of options here. So for those of you who are looking at this, we'd be happy to help you pick the right one, depending on your interest and the type of asset that you might be interested in investing into. The other, why is the program popular? There are many reasons. I would certainly say that Plan B is something that a lot of families around the world post-COVID or during COVID have really been keen on having. Their home country, whether it's India or elsewhere, there might be certain challenges that they view, that they themselves are experiencing now, or that they suspect their children will be experiencing 10, 20 years from now, and they want to have a strong alternative residency option. And Portugal provides that, right? There's great healthcare in Portugal. There's an excellent educational system in Portugal. Travel is fairly easy in terms of access between India and Portugal. And there's also the option of securing citizenship after 5 years, if you so wish. This is just a kind of, I think we're almost out of time here on the presentation. We, as a firm, we work across advisory services, the programs that I just mentioned around immigrant investor programs, which is really the core of what we do at LCR. And then there's another aspect to our business, which is around alternative assets. Those of you who are interested in investing in private equity or other opportunities like that in the United States, we are expanding into that vertical as well. But our core business is the middle piece here on this slide, which is really focusing on helping families with that strategic decision of looking at the US or looking at Europe, or looking at the Grenadian option that allows you access to the US. That's really at the core of what we do at LCR. I think this is it. I'm going to wrap up here, and hopefully we have some time for questions.
Sure. Great. Thank you, Raj, for your presentation. We now invite questions from the attendees. You're requested to click the raise your hand button on your screen, and we will unmute you so that you can ask your question. Lavanya, can you handle it? Thanks.
Yes. So we have a couple of questions on the chat, on the Q&A chat as well, but I'll take the questions first from the attendees. Hi, Mukul, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, sir. So first of all, thanks a lot for a very informative session. I just want to understand from you, during the presentation, I have seen minimum investment. So what do you mean by minimum investment? Is it just a qualifying criteria, or let's say if one invests 2,20,000 for this Granada program, he will be assured of citizenship? That's my question. I hope you understand.
Yeah, so I think your question is around Granada, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Yeah, so with Granada, I think this is a slide, $220,000 is the minimum investment, meaning for a single investor, right? And so if you have a family of 2, 3, 4, 5, that would obviously go up based on the number of family members and dependents that you have.
Oh, got it. I got confused. Like, the more you invest, the better the chances of getting the citizenship.
Understood. No, it's a good question, but yeah, 220 is for a single investor plus fees. And if you have an additional family member, the fees go up incrementally. It's
Perfect.
like
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Family of 4, you're looking at around $400,000.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the next question from Mr. Ganguly. Please unmute yourself to ask your question.
Hi, very much. Thank you for the informative webinar we had. Would like to ask, like, where do I contact you in case I wish to get back to you later? And I'm very much interested for the Portuguese Golden Gate visa. So, how do we get in touch?
Thank you, Jaideep. I appreciate it. You can reach out to me. I know my email ID is rchinai@lcrcapital.com. And I'm sure Rohan or Lavanya can share details with you separately if you'd like, or we can post it on the chat group, Lavanya, if that's okay.
Yes, I'll just do that.
We also have my colleague who is at the booth. Her name is Riddhi. She's based in our Mumbai office, and she'll be more than happy to follow up with you. But we're very happy to discuss the Portugal program in more detail.
So you have anything, any office or any establishment right here in Delhi? That's where I'm putting up right now.
In Delhi, we travel to Delhi all the time, Jaideep. We're headquartered in India in Mumbai. That's where our base is. We've got a 5-person team in Mumbai, but we have colleagues that are in Delhi all the time. So we easily come and meet you, or if you're, we can set up a call in the next few days and take that forward. Not an issue.
Right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jaideep.
Thank you.
We have the next question from Mr. Sharma. Please unmute yourself and ask the question. Yashmin, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. Yashmin?
I think he's on mute.
Yes, you're audible. You can ask the question.
No, I think Yashmin is on mute.
Okay. Either way, I think Yashmin has asked how long does it take Eb5 to get from India? So how long does
Yeah. The good news is that there is no longer retrogression, which effectively was an additional wait time due to the popularity of the Eb5 program up until the end of 2019. There was an additional wait time, and that certainly did not bode well for many folks that had certain timeline restrictions. The current situation is that you would get your conditional green card in approximately 2 years. You would then get your permanent residency in another 24 months after that. So it is a much faster process now. Depending on the type of project you choose, if it's exemplar approved, there's also a slight benefit there. And we do have projects that have that benefit of having a slightly faster timeline and securing those milestones. I'm just trying to, this is the timeline slide. So again, your milestone is to try and get the I-526 approval within around 2 years, which is you see in the top part of the screen. And then you go through a couple of more additional steps, and you would achieve your permanent residency about 24 months after that. Does that, hopefully that answers the question?
Yeah, I think it does. Hi, Nishant. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi. So my B1, B2 visa has been rejected, and I find the only way I can get into US is through this Granada program or some investment or so. Yeah. So could you throw some, is there any other way? Because if I file it again, I might get rejected due to my age, which was being told by my agent. So one is that. Second is that my brother, if you can answer this question, my brother is in US right now. He's working for MasterCard, and his company is going to file his H1 this year. So what would be the best way for him to get the green card as like early as possible, or what is the best way for him to get the green card so he can call up my parents over there? Thank you.
For your brother, I would say, you know, happy to have a conversation with him. EB5 would certainly be the most passive option. It is the most straightforward option for those in the US. In fact, I would say in the current context where we are at now, we are seeing an incredible increase in the number of investors that are interested in EB5 from the US. These are folks who are working in the US at companies like MasterCard, and they don't want to have the dependency of their employer, right, forever. So EB5 breaks that dependency. It gives you, you know, direct access to the US and all the opportunities that come with it. Allows you to have your family, dependents, etc., also be in the US along with you. So I would say that is the option I would recommend. More than happy to speak to your brother. He's welcome to reach out to me.
Having the same the investment amount will be the same, $9 lakh.
Yes, yeah. So once upon a time, up until November of 2019, for close to 30 years, the investment level was less. It was $500,000, and it increased in November of 2019 to $900,000. The key thing to keep in mind here is that as long as the investment fits the budget of the family, this is purely an investment. The capital comes back. It is designed to come back. The only thing I would say there is you have to do your due diligence on identifying the firm and the project that will ensure that the capital is safe. There are projects, unfortunately, where the capital is at risk, and what we specialize in doing is de-risking that, right? So look at this as an investment in the family's future. It's a strategic investment, as I mentioned a couple of times, and as long as it fits the budget of the family, it is. There's a lot of other there's I would say quantitative and qualitative benefits that are linked to that, which I'm happy to talk to offline. Does that answer the question? Lavanya, you're on mute.
Yes, I think we move on to the next question.
Sorry. Yeah, we have another question on chat that says, what is the major difference between E2 and EB5 visa program other than the minimum investment?
Yeah. So the main difference is that the E2 is not a permanent residency option, right? It's if you look at this slide, it says E2 is a temporary non-immigrant visa which will allow you to work in the US. It is not a permanent solution. So if you're looking at access to the US for say 5 years, then this is an attractive option. Now, the one other aspect worth mentioning is that there are families who can pursue the E2 visa, create a base in the US, and then apply for EB5 at a future time. That depends on, again, the commitment that you want to make to the US at this juncture. For those families who are very clear that they want a permanent nexus with the US, either for themselves or for their children, then EB5 would be the better route. It is more expensive, but it would be the better route.
Okay. We have another question from the audience, Mr. Rohit Mangla. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. We have another question from Mr. Reddy. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Yes.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to just check for the E2 visa. You mentioned that we could also pick up a franchisee. If we do pick up a franchisee and we continue to run the business for a while, how do we extend it to EB5 post that?
Yeah. So this is probably a more detailed conversation that we should have offline, but there is a fairly straightforward process that we would engage with you on. We would take the guidance of an immigration attorney to help you through the process of applying from the E2 status to the EB5 to getting you as an EB5 investor. So that is a process that we would work with you on. It would involve identifying, I mean, right now, are you already in E2 or you're thinking about E2?
No, I'm not in E2, but I have a multiple entry US visa. I've studied in the US. I've done my MBA there. I am into business in India. I do exports to the US. So just contemplating a couple of options. At the same time, for the EB5, can we invest in our own real estate where we can pick up a house for ourselves? And would that classify as a investment?
From an EB5 perspective, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Look, I think the short answer is yes, that you can do that as long as you maintain the minimum job creation level of 10 jobs per investor or 10 jobs per investment. The risk with that is significant, right? Because I'm assuming, you, like many others, will have a timeline in which you want to achieve the residency status and take advantage of all the benefits. If you fall below that threshold, you have effectively, lost time. You could be part of a situation that is not compliant with EB5 requirements. And so there are lots of, I would say, hurdles with that. Along the same lines, there are hurdles with investing in small projects. We've had folks come to us and say, hey, look, I have a friend of mine who's building a small hotel or motel and, planning to do a $10 million EB5 raise. Well, that's great, but the challenge there is, how many of the requirements have they satisfied to be fully compliant and to offset the risk? And the challenge there is not just losing time, but it's also potentially losing your capital. Right?
Okay, so just one final question here. If I do choose the franchisee route, how long would it take to convert from an E2 to an E5?
From E2 to E5, it would take a matter of months. You mean your application process?
That's right.
Yeah, the application process would be a matter of a couple of months. You want to get to, again, as I mentioned earlier, you want to have at least a month to get to know the project that you're going to be investing into for EB5 and get to know us and do the documentation, the source of funds, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to give yourself at least that much time, if not more. This is an important investment, right? $900,000 is a sizable investment for anyone. And so the more time you give yourself, the better. We have multiple projects on our platform at any given time. So sometimes, in your case included, you may want to study not just one project, but you may want to look at two and then finally select one. So give yourself, at least a couple of months to do that.
So the investment of 900,000 is over and above the E2 investment?
Correct. So if you know that you want the permanent residency, right, then the logical thing to do is pursue EB5. It wouldn't make sense to spend these dollars or this investment in E2 and then pivot to EB5. If you're not sure and you do not want to commit that much capital and time to permanent residency or to the EB5 program, then the E2 makes sense to start with.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Reddy. We have a question on chat. I would like to know 900,000 investment for EB5 visa. How long will the investment period be? And will the return be just the principal, or will there be principal plus an interest profit sharing?
Sure, great question. I'll go back to this slide. So the capital return, that capital return would be 5 years with potentially 2 one-year extensions. That is at the discretion of the developer and LCR. So maximum, you can say 7 years. So think of it as 5 years to 7 years on the return of capital. There is a small return associated with the principal. In our projects, it's 50 basis points. So it's negligible. It's not why you should be doing this, obviously. It's not a financial investment, but there is that 50 basis points return that is spread across that time frame of 5 to 7 years. Well before that, you're receiving the immigration benefit, right? So like I mentioned earlier, you're going to get those milestones of achieving the conditional green card in approximately 2 years, the permanent residency 2 years forward after that. And then you also have the option of applying for US citizenship, which takes 5 years. Does that answer the question?
Yes. We have one last question. Is E2 visa better and quicker than EB5 as a business owner? Can I apply for E2 first and EB5 later?
The short answer is yes. It is quicker. It's faster. Again, it depends, as I mentioned on the earlier question from Mr. Reddy. If you are looking at deciding today that you want a permanent residency in the US, then it would not make sense to go through those two steps. It would make sense to just simply proceed with EB5 because otherwise you are incurring additional time on pursuing E2, and then again, the cost involved with that. If you are unsure, right? If you're unsure, then yes, it would probably make more sense. Again, these are I'm making certain generalizations based on limited information. I'd love to speak to this person who's asking the question to understand better what the objectives are, and that's true for all these questions. By the way, I'm providing very quick general kind of input. I think each case is different. Each case probably warrants a conversation to understand if E2 is a better option or EB5 is a better option.
Okay, great. Thank you, Raj, for such an insightful presentation. We've posted the link on the chat for your for the IREX Residency and Citizenship virtual exhibition. LCR Capital team will be available at their virtual booth to speak to you and answer all your queries. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Our next session is at 3 o'clock. But thank you, Raj, for your presentation. Great presentation. Everyone, I urge you to meet the LCR team at their booth. Thanks.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you, everyone, for attending. And we look forward to speaking to you and addressing any more questions that you might have. Thanks so much.